Okay. Hey, hey guys. Thanks for joining me. I just got a notification, but we're all good to go. Mariam, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah. So, hey, how you doing?
Mm.
So, want to jump right into things. We met at Collision, and
Mhm.
we kicked it off at the TechStars demo. Got a lot of chance to meet a lot of great companies, but really you stood out with HealthPass with a very unique concept. So before we get too far into things, I'd love to get an introduction here from both of you, and then we can jump into what HealthPass is.
Yeah, 100%. So, again, my name is Osama, the primary founder of HealthPass, and this is my co-founder Mariam, and we came together as a team about 16 months ago. Went through a different couple iterations of what we wanted to do. We had you know, a core vision of just democratizing healthcare, especially on the information side of things. So we started off as kind of an AI house, and then recently made a pivot into getting more into the consumer side of things. So love to talk more about that. But on the personal note, again, coming together after 16 months, I go to the University of Ottawa, interned at Deloitte a few times, but I really made the jump from kind of finances and accounting to entrepreneurship and healthcare after competing in the KPMG Ideation Challenge. I was one of the, I think, about 60 students that were selected to compete, and it brings students all across from the business stuff like myself, connecting them with STEM students. So it was at that time that I kind of learned how to work in kind of a Scrum environment, and learned a little bit of more of the project management side. So really helped me kind of get that boost, in confidence that I needed to speak to the more technically capable people in the world. And I kind of use that information, became a consultant at Deloitte. But now as I'm leaving school, and things are kind of heating up, we have a great idea over at HealthPass, and I'm putting my full effort into trying to see it through.
Oh, I'm on mute. Diving deeper into that, Mariam, could you join?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Uh, Osama. Hello, everyone. Thanks for listening. So, I'm Mariam from and public health specialist and the co-founder of the health. My background is in digital health and public health, and it's been 5 years as a public health specialist. And my future is related to digital health, and that this is a really future that connects everything, patient's life, each of our lives. And I'm so eager to involve my energy, my skills, to use my skills to develop new project that is related to digital health and that is impactful. As a co-founder of digital health, huge role to develop this product, because I'm sure that this will help each of the patients that will easiest the ways they in different countries nowadays in Mexico. And glad to be here. And I have just got the position at WHO as a public health specialist and digital health position. I'm happy to share this information and happy to share our products as well. Thank you.
Love to hear it. I love the fact that you guys are working between two different time zones as well. Are you currently out of the country, Mariam?
Yes,
No, I'm
yes,
back in
I'm in
Toronto now.
Georgia.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
So
from
the
Georgia.
most of the team, there's four people on the team. Three of us are located in Toronto. Mariam is still in Europe, and she's looking to make the move over hopefully in the fall.
Yeah, I mean, one of the different challenges of that is working different time zones is, making things all sync. But one of the benefits is when one person sleeps, the other person's kind of working.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you found the productivity shift match up, or how's that working?
I'll take this one, Mary, then maybe you can follow up. But I think it was, after meeting Mary Abby, I started working a lot harder. I think that's one thing. Most of the work that we're even going to be talking about later today is because of Mary Abby directly. So, would not be here without the effort that she's put in. But yeah, time zones. Most of the meeting taken will be, I guess, when it's daytime for us here. And right now, I think it's midnight for Mariam right now. So, she's been getting used to it. I feel for her though. I just came back from a month away. I was in Asia, Turkey, and Pakistan, and the time zones was killing me over there. So for only a month, I can't imagine what she goes through every day.
Yeah, it's a thank you, Osama. And it's a teamwork, so I sacrifice my sleeping time. And when it comes with patience, so
Yeah.
you sacrifice your time, and I do it with pleasure because this is work, and I like what I do. So thank you.
That's fantastic. So, I mean, I love to hear that you're making it, but you're making it work. But let's dive into a little bit of your company, because I want to. I think it's an interesting product in this marketplace, right? So, can you give us a quick intro into HealthPass, and we'll break it down?
Yeah, 100%. So I'll give a little bit of context, but we found that just in 2017, for example, there was about $2.3 billion spent from the US going only to Latin America. So that's just the US to Latin America, like $2.3 billion in just 2017. And that really pertained to people leaving for elective procedures. So that includes the cosmetics, but a lot of it is also like specialty surgery, bariatrics, orthopedics, even dental work. um, you know think stem cell therapy as well. So we found, after meeting Mariam, we were kind of putting our heads down and really researching the space. We found that, again, this is a market that existed, but recently, maybe it's the fact that we're young and maybe that's why we picked up this kind of trend. But recently found that there was a lot of negative press about people not having the best experience when traveling abroad. The Mexicos, the Colombias, especially again from North America. So our solution to the problem was to create North America's first online marketplace for these medical tourism packages. Bad press, of course, it affects these patients, and elective procedures is really one of those last places in healthcare that is, the patient's paying for it directly. There's no OHIP, there's no Medicaid in the way. And because of that, when people complain about, healthcare being expensive again for general health, a lot of the times they're not footing the bill. So it is kind of manageable. But elective procedures is really that last place that people are paying for it out of pocket. And, kind of a dark joke that we make is people are really risking their lives to save a few bucks. And this negative press, of course, is obviously a safety issue, but for these companies, these medical tourist companies, again, who are now becoming our clients, it's not good. It reflects badly on the industry. It hurts their own sales and their own lead generations, and they don't want to be known for a few bad apples that are working in maybe a same geographic region. So for us, being a marketplace that kind of selects the medical facilities that are allowed to be on there in the first place, there's a lot of safety that we provide because of that. And so in a way, we're really becoming the Expedia of medical tourism. Medical facilities can host their services on the HealthPass app, allowing patients to compare rates, securely transfer the EMRs, and find the right medical facility for them. As of right now, HealthPass has secured about 9 vendors across Mexico, offering everything from dental to orthopedics at below market rates while ensuring a high quality of care. Um, Maybe we can get into our distribution plans and all that sort of good stuff. But again, we have a great team. We are a startup, so we are still launching, of course, but a lot of great traction that's coming around. And now that we found this perfect, product market fit, we know who we want to help. We know who our core clients will be. It's a match kind of made in heaven for the both of us.
Can you talk a little bit more about the medical tourism space? Have you had to go through it? Have you experienced it yourself? What pulled you towards solving this problem?
100%. The story kind of started. I had an aunt. Me and Mariam have been together for about 16 months, but this idea to really focus in on elective procedures and people leaving countries for it, there's two things. Mariam, you could maybe talk about the research that we did, but we did a few. We basically did this large um, pilot project from January to April that just passed of this year with a major group in Mexico. And at the time we went into it kind of just being an EMR standing for electronic medical record, and we were creating them and helping to transfer them for this company, because again, for a lot of their patients, over 90% are people that are outside of the locality. So usually the first time that they're using them. So creating these records is so important. But after doing it, we were told that, hey, this is more of a nice to have rather than a need. So we had to put our heads down and really make that pivot into trying to find value. And instead of just facilitating the conversations between the patients and the medical groups, we had to kind of make them happen to begin with. And after doing that and realizing that's where a lot of the value is being made, we added the marketplace element. Those same clientele, responded very positively, and we were able to just open up a whole new demographic of people that. So moving from just a tool to, more than that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would like
Mariam,
to
please add on. Go ahead.
the validation of our application. So why we think that it will work. So as a common sense of digital health has a potential to prevent it and the lower the cost, and doesn't trigger the development of new technology, and everyone, each facility, each organization, each healthcare system start thinking more robustly and more globally and see the picture from above. So therefore, the information about the technology became more demanding during pandemic, and we see the clear gap between electronic health access from the patient and what is their demand and what is the access. So over 60% of
Yeah.
Canadians would like to have their EMR on their email. So, but only like 24% of family physicians offer this service. So there is a demand, a huge demand to access each patient to have access their personal EMR. And our solution comes here. So HealthPass use the survey to gain the common sense and perception of each customer, what they think, what are they finding. So what is it, what our product can determine. So we see both the product feasibility and the consumer interest regarding the HealthPass. And as a result, we saw that 52% mentioned that they EMR, but 80% mentioned that they would like to use such service if there is any. And this easiest and transparent communication between patient and physician is crucial. And our survey revealed that the different obstacles, there is a different potential users emphasize their need and readiness. So there is a problem. So and HealthPass is a and short research of our one of the projects. I analyzed this data, so I applied to the biggest the symposium about the health research symposium that will take place in Bogota, Colombia, and my apps accepted by them. So hopefully, I will travel to Colombia to represent my research and talk and with other stakeholders, what are the solutions and what are the field.
Yeah.
And
that's one of the huge things. Patients are definitely looking at their health in a different way. They're okay with it being more accessible. There was once upon a time that people weren't comfortable having such sensitive information on an electronic device to begin with. So we're making huge shifts in the consumer mindset. But again, as Mariam, you mentioned, having her abstract, and again, for context, the title is a case study of a Canadian telehealth startup better access to electronic health records and the demand from the customer's perspective. So the fact that this as an abstract title is actually being fully accepted and now talked about and presented on really literally the world stage. This HSR has been holding events from Switzerland to Cape Town, Beijing, Dubai, whatever, Liverpool. This year they're in Colombia, and the fact that it's 2022 and now this is being discussed, personally that's kind of frustrating, but it's still a huge positive shift in the right direction. The demand is there, as Mariam said. finally the supply side is kind of coming up.
It's interesting that the demand is there, and and it's like the supply couldn't catch up. So let's talk a little more about the market in a sense that people know this, right? So there has been a long history of people traveling for particular regions for particular services. Latin America is known for plastic surgery, and it's been that for a long time. India as a region is becoming known as a haven for IVF, for fertility treatments, right? And Turkey. I've somehow found myself in a WhatsApp group for bald men who want to go to Turkey because it's cheaper to get implants. I'm fully happy with this, but apparently there is a huge flight of people who like go in groups to Turkey because it's such a efficient model. For the same price of a transplant here, you can do that with much more phenomenal experience. Like I think they give you like a tour of Istanbul included the package. You get a hotel fee, all these kind of things. So the idea of medical tourism, looks at medicine not just as a commodity. It's like, oh, I'm sick, heal me, or I need this done, get it done for me. It doesn't seem as a transactional product, but an experiential one. Something that can be packaged together to soften the blow, if you will, a medical procedure being completed. So where do you see this, the potential of this? Like, I think the consumer interest is not just in like going to the best efficient places, but also kind of enjoying the process, if you will. Like, why do I need to get hip surgery, and why does it need to suck, right? What do I have to say at this hotel? There's like at a hospital with this. Why can't I go to a more bespoke place?
100%. And it's great because we're working with a few key clients in Mexico, and that really is their bread and butter. We are obviously adding the kind of the front end Expedia. We're packaging things up, making sure the flights are cheap. You're getting the best prices, you're going to the right people. But on the other side, the partners are doing a lot of the heavy lifting. And what you're talking about it being an experience is 100% true. One of our key clients is based in Cancun, and for them, they basically have a resort that's dedicated to this, to recovery. Because you mentioned the Turkey things, but rather people go in a group for a reason, first of all. But I'm sure everyone's seen the memes and things like that on social media of people kind of traveling back, and it can get kind of awkward. People don't want to be uncomfortable. So giving them that safe space to do it is huge. For now, HealthPass definitely is looking to go global, and getting our research kind of talked about and acknowledged in this way on an international scale is huge, and getting the word out. But right now, we really are based in North America. And the reason I say that is not because we don't take patients from anywhere else, but the thing is, our providers, service providers, are based in Mexico. And because of that, we're kind of the cheapest game in town, especially if you are in North America. So, for example, India, for example, is sometimes a similar rate as us in some of their treatments, but the cost of airfare tends to kind of be pretty steep when you cross the ocean. So, for us, we're really that best game in town when it comes to it in America and North America. But 100% Turkey's on the radar. We understand where our customers are going, and we have the research behind it. So it's up to us to make supply meet demand. Supply meet demand.
I like that sentiment. Let's talk a little bit about kind of like, can you walk us through this? Because I think this was previously known as concierge medicine, right? So the idea of like you're part of a health clinic, or you almost like a membership. It's like a luxury service where your experience is taken care of for you. It's been shown off in like a lot of movies, especially back in the days. I remember this being super big in like 2000s and the 90s, like these concierge like 5-class hotel style spas you go to and get things done. But going back to what it is now, how accessible is this? Because I think a lot of this, the uncertainty about this comes is that if services are not used in own localities, like if you're not going to your local hospital and utilizing services, then it's there's less resources being allocated towards your locality, and then that affects people who cannot go and pay for services, right? So there is this idea of medicine should be universal, and especially coming from a place like Canada, which it's built into our systems. The idea of universal medicine is like it should be acceptable for all and accessible for all. So there's this place like, is this a luxury good meant for those who can afford it and potentially have access to this particular market? Or do you see this being like price driven down and just made it more accessible for a wider audience?
I think that is literally the crux of the issue when it comes to us being a disruptor in the space. There's accessibility is the right word, right? And personally, as I'm getting into this, we divide it into two separate parts. We have to be accessible when it comes to the way that we operate, and we have to be accessible when it comes to the financial aspect, the pricing that we have. So when it comes to operation, our business model is really quite simple. First we connect the patient to the right medical facility, and the way that you do that is very similar to, again, an Expedia, an Airbnb, or any of these marketplaces that you find. You purchase a service package. It's purchased by the patient. HealthPass is really that concierge, I guess you could say, service for that. Everything's done in our online POS. We then take over and help with the HIPAA compliant transfer of data. So making sure that any of the data that we're handling is, it's safe and it's being sent to the right people, and the custodians of that data are going to be, again, trustworthy, and this data is going to be protected. And again, making sure that both the patient and the medical facility are both being empowered to be the concierges, not the concierges, but the facilitators and the users of that data. No longer are we just talking about having this information being used by the medical facility, but we want the patient to be a part of their own recovery as well. And again, finally, that fourth step is the service is then delivered by, again, the partner medical facility, and making sure that the patient stays safe. So on the operational standpoint, it's very much accessible, especially in for us utilizing technology. We have an app, we have those online POS systems, and we find that it's the best way to democratize and reach the masses, and keeping it as easy as possible. And the second part, which historically has been an issue, before I get into the pricing, I'll preface this by saying I never went to the dentist before I was in my 20s. And that's because, as with parents that are both um, self-employed here in Canada, I'm in the Toronto region. Because of that, something as simple as going to the dentist was pretty expensive, and it would be something that just wouldn't be in the budget. So for a lot of things that we're covering, again, it is considered elective procedure, but that's really just the medical definition. When it comes to people's real life on a social level, these aren't necessarily always elective. So price was so important because of that. So for here, again, moving away from even just the dental work, getting a bariatric surgery here with HealthPass might only be $6,000. Whereas if you're in Toronto, you'd be very lucky to get something for under 10K. Dental services, I mentioned, you can get something done for $190, and for just a few $100s more, around 500, maybe even get braces done. And we know the fact that in Toronto here, unless you have something set up with your employer already, getting something done for yourself or your family, it's just not in the cards. Same thing goes for the basic things like a rhinoplasty as well. In New York, Toronto, anywhere in the Upper East Coast, you're looking about $10,000 to $15,000. We can get it done for as low as 3,000. So again, accessibility wise, we're using technology to its highest potential, and trying to make sure that it's an app that's usable and serviceable by everyone, and not necessarily just looking at socioeconomic backgrounds, but making sure that we're making it accessible to people with sensory issues and things like that. And on this side with the price, it's very important because, again, we're making these services that have historically been very luxury, and bringing them down to a more democratic level. And that's really is what's changing the perspective, because it's very easy to throw around words like elective procedure, but again, going to the dentist might be elective, but personally, as somebody that has grown up here, I can attest to the fact that it's anything but.
Okay. I think it's about time I threw like a little bit of a left field question here. So I want to push the limits of what elective or sorry, this medical tourism can go towards, because under the title of medicine, there's a lot of different components to this, right? There's therapy, there's different components, and I think one of the key things is the upcoming legalization, well, decriminalization, and then legalization of therapeutic psychedelics. There are some regions that are adopting it faster than others. There are some who have a long history of it.
Yeah.
So we'd have like a place like Amsterdam and not even Amsterdam, like the Nordic countries who are looking explicitly into like psychedelic therapy, and they've been doing it for a while. There's already been licensed therapists there utilizing it, showing cases and studies. There are regions like Mexico with peyote rituals that are deep and integrated into both native and local communities, and have traditional roots of healing and power, right? And people have been going for these kind of retreats in a gray industry. It's all throughout the criminalization of these substances. So, as this comes down to the forefront of therapeutical uses of clinics being able to open up. And Canada is looking at becoming one of the first nations to adopt this. Now that the legalization of cannabis has kind of stabilized, does this fit into the utilizes of medical tourism?
I'm going to let Mariam take most of this, but I just want to preface by saying the big thing with us is, the I guess the protocol that we try to follow, especially as we're starting off, and we want this to go on to be part of our brand and our policy, but we follow the accreditations. So, for example, anyone that we're working with in Mexico follow these specific accreditations that we look at. And because of that, as much as a marketplace, people tend to look at us and we have that responsibility of choosing what, maybe not censor is not the right word, but what gets onto the marketplace and what doesn't. um, the overall kind of vision that we're following is we want to make sure that the accreditations from those countries are there. So we're never going to say no, and times change at all times, and but the main thing that we like to follow, even though we're a private company, is waiting for the public domain to follow. So making sure that the state is licensing these guys and everything is accredited. We really are playing with a lot of sensitive data, but people's lives, and we want to make sure that the services that we're providing fit under that. But personally, I'm a huge believer in disrupting the space. So any of these new things that come out, that continue to come out, which I'm sure are going to pass these accreditations and get their licenses done properly, we'd love to be in touch. But Miriam, why don't you talk a
Yeah,
little bit, yeah,
yeah,
the
just
accreditations.
the short comment, and that was a really good point, Ravi. So our priority is patient safety and health. So our Hipaa compliance, so we transfer the patient information to another country, so that both countries has its regulation, because the electronic health record is sensitive information. We are responsible for each patient information, and the hospitals we're choosing, so we have the special like critical checklist that we are choosing. For example, the one need to be, to have the joint commission international accreditation. That means that the clinic is highly reliable and safe, and the patient can trust each of the physicians, because all of them have license, and it's important for us. So there are some of the problems, that side effects, because there are, of course, the upcoming issues that we will face, and this will be the one of them. But like our intermissions and the hospitals we are choosing, our providers and partners are highly reliable, because it comes with patient safety and health. So this is
One
one of
thing,
the
yeah,
priorities as well, issue to work
I,
on.
I do want to add specifically as well, like, yes, we wait for the public sphere to really follow up and making sure that, again, the accreditations are there, but that doesn't mean that we're moving slowly. When it comes to, again, stem cell therapy, something that is still pretty new, our services are, really at the forefront of what's being offered, or even something as recent as Roe v. Wade in the ruling that came out in the U.S. Because of that, we're at the forefront of that as well, where some of these clients that maybe weren't servicing that very much historically, and offering these fertility treatments and abortions, they're now making sure that they're changing their offering and adjusting because of that. And us as a marketplace, as HealthPass that has these amazing connections and partnerships in the industry, we're able to capitalize off that and make sure our patients have what the most innovative offerings, I guess you could say, available to them. And it's weird to use the word innovative, but we like to think that we're moving a bit faster than historically the way that healthcare has moved. Like we said when we got into this, me and Mariam were very frustrated on the lack of technology just in the space. But we do trust in the boards that are in place. Mariam here is from the WHO herself. Um, so it's one of those things that we trust the boards that are in place, in the policymakers, the decision makers in place. So we wait for their go ahead in terms of what's safe and what's not, and we'll take over the technology aspect. We'll make sure everything's accessible, price appropriate, that sort of stuff. But when it comes to, again, what's accredited, we like to defer to the people in charge.
Wait, so us as a tech company, we have this responsibility for each of the patient person who would like to have access to the abortion, and the abortion law is quite now, and pregnant woman doesn't have any choice to have an abortion in their own country. And for us as a so we would like to give each patient, each person the possibility to abortion. And also there was a written by me, and that I reviewed what are the issues, how we can help, what are the opportunities, how as a can help to have access to the abortion. So HealthPass is working to protect each person's right and access to safe abortion, because I think soon, in a couple of months of safe abortion, according to the WHO, each from 4 to 13% the maternal deaths can be attributed to unsafe abortion. So I think that the cases of unsafe abortion is gonna be really high, and it's important to have a safe abortion. Just wanted to mention this.
Yeah, I'm glad you did, because I think that's a steady pass, steady point. But I do want to talk about some legality issues here, and like going back to both medical abortions and needs-based abortions versus even psychedelic therapies. If certain nation states deem it inappropriate or illegal, if you will, and citizens were to leave and complete and come back, what are legalities? Are there current legality systems between that? Because different countries allow for different markets for different types of consumable medical I guess medical tourism, right? So, where does legality come into play, and where does responsibility lie?
100%. When it comes to the
Unfortunately, this
legal
law is not
aspect,
national.
the place, yeah,
Yeah,
that's the thing. It's
Yeah,
at a
go ahead,
state to
Osama.
state level, but even beyond that, in other countries, if you live there, it's wherever you're a citizen of. Like, we respect even people's sovereignty. So it's very much different laws for different places. However, the places that we have offerings out of, we follow their laws, of course. So if it's allowed in Mexico, that's why we're doing it in Mexico, and we don't have a clinic in, let's say, Texas, right? But if patients are coming from these places, it's very much their right to do so. And so far, even though we've seen some crazy rulings so far, the right to travel and move, and have sovereignty over that hasn't changed. But in terms of responsibility, again, Mary, I'll hand it to you in a bit. One thing I do want to mention, and Mariam talks about this in the article, But in 2019, 600, just about over 600,000 legally induced abortions were reported to the CDC from the 49 reporting areas. And the point that Mariam you made is the real figure is likely to be much higher than that because this is the voluntarily reported information. So one of the things that we tend to forget is much like how we as founders stumbled upon this market that exists already that's worth $2.3 billion in the elective procedure space, people are getting procedures, and it's their choice. Nobody's really making them do that. A lot of the, you know, stuff that again where we step in as HealthPass, all we're really doing is trying to make it accessible for the people that do need it. Um, and when the laws are catering to that, that's when you're able to actually get information. If it's open, if we're allowed to talk about this as a topic, that's when we find out how many abortions were done. And when they were done, how many of them were done safely and not, done in secret or done, illegally. These things are only hurting the patients, whether that be in the long term or the short term. And for us, that's why it's a social impact issue in that way as well. We're not making extra abortions happen. We're really just making the people that are going to be doing this anyways, it's something that's affecting their lives, making sure it's safe for them.
I love that. I do want to approach one more topic before we wrap up here, and the idea of data, especially health data, which is so precious, right, to us. There's so much details within us that can be containerized in that. Noel Harari talked about, he's a Jewish historian, but he's talked a lot about futurism, and he's talked about how AI itself is not the problem, but AI with access to data, especially health data, might be really concerning. Because with health data, you can now know what's going on with inside you, like your internal states. So now, as things as health monitors and other things come on that can amplify our data patterns goes out there, it's one thing that it's being collected and refined by private organizations. But now when you add in the mix of public versus private healthcare systems, different healthcare systems across different worlds, like there are potential for leakages of your data getting out there. How does the data protection come into play?
Yeah, 100%. Mariam, do you want to lead actually this part with, some of the HIPAA compliance and what that really means for us?
Yeah, definitely. One of the issues that when we the application and when this issue came up, okay, I'll take the data because this is the sensitive information. We have patients information, and so this is the whole bunch of documents, the Hipaa compliance and the country where you want to transfer this information. Person who is responsible for the data collection, data retrieve, the keeping, the special keep, when to delete, when to who is responsible for keeping this information, who is the third person that you can send this information. So this is the whole package that we are working on it, and the Hipaa compliance is one of the strong the law and compliance that protect us and all
Yeah.
information issues that we
I'd
take care of because this is sensitive. Osama?
Absolutely. And it might just be a testament to the fact that healthcare has moved so slowly, but HIPAA as a policy, as a guideline and a protocol, it's bulletproof. So the two companies that we're working with and we're partnering with on the AI side when it comes to creating people's medical records, and just for some context how we do that, we can create now from scratch medical records off of a Google Meet or a Zoom call between the patient and the medical expert that happens. So of course, before you get anything done with us, there's going to be these consultations that take place, and again, off of those and the conversation that's had, we can create these medical records from scratch. And to do that, we're working with an amazing company based out of Ottawa called UC Labs. Maybe we can tag them on the post, but they're doing some great work, and they've created something called Sprite, that again can create these SOAP notes live. And then we're still working on the EMR capabilities, but either way, you kind of see the point. Um, it's taking a little while though, because it's not like the rest of tech where you can just throw a prototype together. It has to be HIPAA compliant. So we love working with them because they're on the the cutting edge of tech, but they're doing it safely. And on this side with data protection, now that we have it and we're sending and transferring it, how are we making sure that's protected? We're working with a Toronto-based company called MedStack, and Balaji Gopalan, who's the head of that. He's done a great job and has built a great product, and their offering is extensive. And us as a startup, we're it's amazing for us to be working with that suite of products and services, because again, MedStack provides that data compliance, making sure the HIPAA is there, and of course protecting people's data, but we also want to protect ourselves. So we're making sure that any of the work that we're doing when it comes to HIPAA, we can pass an audit. If it were to be done on a random occasion, because these things happen. Our government takes a look and makes sure that the field is safe. So we're making sure that everything is good to go with UC Lab again on the tech side, and MedStack here on the compliance side.
Wonderful. I mean, we also love MedStack here. Balaji came on the podcast last year,
Yeah,
and talked about his vision for how he wants to empower the next generation of software tools. Yeah, so really love that you're already working together within that infrastructure, and
yeah,
especially with their support, you can definitely work on that compliance feature, making sure data stays private and utilized only by those that need to be utilized.
exactly.
Osama, Mariam, sorry. Uh, Great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for spending time with us, outlining HealthPass and everything. Where can people follow you on this journey?
Yeah, I think the best place would probably be to follow us on LinkedIn at
Mm.
HealthPass, one word, HealthPass, or visit us online at our website at healthpasscanada.com. Me and Mariam are both public figures in that way on LinkedIn as well, so you can keep up with our personal journeys there. But yeah, find us in Colombia if anyone's going to be there. We'd love to hang out at the HSR symposium that's coming up. Um, and yeah, either way, we're usually based in Toronto. Again, Mariam over in Europe. So give us a call, give us a or shoot us a message, and we'd love to chat.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank you,
Um,
thank you
Mariam, same with you.
for having us. How's is everyone's life? Right, so thank
Perfect. Thank you both. We'll chat soon.
Thank you. Bye, Ravi.